Hello, my name is Erica, and I'm the Dyslexic Trekkie. In previous videos, I made the primary conflicts a question of culture clashes and misunderstandings. Lutan is an antagonist, but he's more power-hungry than anything. In my editing, his intentions are vague, though suspicious. In previous episodes, Lutan declared his love for Yar and his intention to not just keep her and marry her, but make her his first wife, usurping the position of his present wife, Urena. Urena answers this with a challenge to Yar to the death. For her, this is a question of standing. In the original episode, it's a question of honor. I'm afraid there isn't a lot I can change in this part. The challenge has to be made, the tools used are what they are, and the fight has to happen. That said, there are some points that need adjusted. After Will Riker's logs, which make it clear the ship knows the stakes at hand on the surface, we see Captain Picard and Counselor Troi meet Tasha in her guest quarters on the planet. It's a nice touch that she's doing stretches before they meet. Remember, she hasn't been idle while all this has happened. Tasha's been sparring with the guards. The conversation itself is too awkward. I get Picard asking if Yar knew about the challenge. Even her answer makes some sense, but Troy's little speech has to change. In my version, she says, "But you were interested in him. You spent all day with him, and you clearly enjoyed his company." Yar's response, "Well, yes, we did have a good time together." Her anger at being caught saying it was nice to be flirted with is not staying. Not so much because it doesn't fit the story, but because, really, it's just not needed. Yar says, "I thought I might visit him on my next leave. We had a good time." When she stops and changes direction, it's because she's pointing out a little of what I said in the previous video. She spent time with his wife, getting to know her. She's not really spent a lot of time with Lutan. Deanna explains that she thinks it might be a part of the process of deciding to add another member to their marriage, and Picard makes his statements on them being manipulated, but his "myself most of all," No, you're not. You're not the one being challenged to the death. I can excuse some of this as being part of the first season. We know the series was still trying to establish these characters, but that can only go so far. Deanna states, "We have to find a way to resolve this without violating the Prime Directive." I have a feeling the original line about how much easier this would be without the Prime Directive was to make the distinction between the TNG series and the original series. Kirk likely would have just taken Yar back and said to hell with it. Picard doesn't have that option. Them agreeing that they have to find a legitimate way out does the same thing without seeming disingenuous. The question of plague is a difficult one. In my version, the issue isn't replication, it's just a question of getting the samples to the relay in time. I think the urgency can be kept by saying the estimations for mortality will be in the millions if they don't get to the rendezvous in time. Forcing the ship they were meeting to come to them will mean more deaths. Though again, the issue is dropped at the end of the episode. At some point I'm going to have to say the samples were dropped off. The ship agrees to continue replicating, so at least they'll have more ready when the ship does get there, more to disperse once they do actually get to the crisis. And this is where I really can't change much. Yar's determination that she can win, Picard's relaying the issue with the plague, Picard's insistence that she doesn't have to prove anything. It all works. The context of the planet and its society aren't at issue here. I can even get behind Troi saying how Yar can beat Urena, and it's the most practical. The whole Betazoid blood bit is weird. It feels like they're trying to make Troi the Spock of this moment. It doesn't work. Practicality is needed here. Odds are good that Yar can defeat Lutan's wife easily. Take out the bargaining points bit and it works mostly. The point is them agreeing to the fight and reasoning out why. It all comes back to the Prime Directive. That's what makes Picard go to speak to Lutan. He needs to understand why he's doing this. If it were for love, he would have asked Yar to be his second. The whole mess wouldn't have happened. Picard starts with complimenting the hospitality of Lutan. He laments the circumstances they're in, playing onto his ego. Picard plays his words carefully, keeping the chummy nature with how he talks, leaving his meaning open for interpretation. Picard largely plays the same mind games with Lutan. He admits he can see the appeal of Yar, though as her captain he stays professional. Same line, same context. We're in Lutan's little power game. I think the discussion of land will be replaced with holdings and science labs and research patents. The end result is the same. Lutan only protects her holdings. Urena owns it. He would like to remove the middleman, or woman in this case. But of course, Lutan's second, sort of his man of arms, lets the point slip. Picard promises the fight will happen with the same toast. The next scene is the first of many classic Data and the Forge moments. The duo is wonderful, and it's one of those few things about TNG that is true from the very beginning. Data's need to become human, and Geordi's encouragement and his wishes, his willingness to explain things to Data that he can't understand. But for a little girl who struggled with reading, who knew she couldn't do what everyone else did, seeing these two, a man who couldn't see and a man who couldn't feel, struck a chord 8-year-old me couldn't put into words. But this aside is there to preempt both going to the surface to help prepare for the upcoming battle. When Geordi and Data reach the surface, the order is the same, the reaction is the same. Picard's speech? I'm torn. The points are a mess. The reason is from anger. I think him saying something is needed, and the idea of all this seeming like a joke is reasonable, but his directing it again to the whole planet? One man is doing something. One man is manipulating ancient customs that even in the original episode are known not to be general practice. In my version, Picard says, it does seem like a joke. One man exploiting old ways to meet his own needs feels like a joke. Here we are in an enlightened culture, one that has, by and large, set aside such primitive ideas. Ones that nearly drove our own planet to extinction, and then cuts himself off from making speeches on things they all know. I remember thinking this was a joke as a kid. This whole bit where he says he's not going on about things they all know seemed funny because we, the audience, didn't know. Or at least 8-year-old me didn't. It still feels like an inside joke, a crack at themselves. Will Riker's ship's logs are interesting. There's nothing to change, but I have some ideas on why they are how they are. I'll go over that more in the overview. The next scene is between Yar and Urena. I have to describe these because I doubt I'll find stills for the scenes. Enjoy the Hubble telescope images. It comes off somewhat as a female pissing contest. Yar explains that her training is top-notch. Urena explains that she's trained her whole life. In my version, it's because she has a passion for it. Lutan has a type, and she intends on winning. I'm not sure there's more I can change. Again, it has to happen. This fight is an established part of the story. Yar makes it clear she's fighting because she's ordered. They have the vaccine. The issue is getting out with the political alliance intact and because they don't interfere in planetary customs. Urena doesn't believe her. She won't rescind the challenge. When Counselor Choi offers to guide Picard and asks if there's a way out, it's not with the vaccine, it's with the alliance intact. Choi can't see a way right now. Data and Geordi enter to tell Picard about the weapons. In short, they're for women, obviously. They are poisonous and not cleaned very well. They still have blood on them. The debate on the arena and the purpose of the metal poles. Gotta love Data's attention to detail. Useless to the point at hand, but still detailed. And Data asks if Yar loves Lutan. She says, of course I don't, Data. After all this, how could I? And then Yar gets to see her new murder mittens. It's a moment that hints to the potential in Yar. Geordi warns her that the spines are tipped with poison, and she says, these I understand. She puts the weapon on and seems more comfortable than she's looked all through this part of the episode. She understands combat. Perhaps some of her youth fighting for survival coming out. Team hears Urena training in the arena. The pole's purpose becomes clear, and this is where I leave things. I got a bit further than in previous videos. I'll likely finish the revisions in the next Star Trek Revised. Thank you for watching. If you like this subject, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any thoughts, feelings, or ideas on this subject, please share in the comments below. Again, my name is Erica, and I'm the Dyslexic Trekkie. After Will Wikers, then Yar gets to see her seemed funny because we, the audience, didn't know. Okay, I'm starting to sound like a bad actor. It's because she, right? Right, no. You also need your nail trimmed. Well, he does. Well, we're almost, Ray, knock it off, we're almost there. Useless to the point at hand, but still detailed. It is! He's very detailed. Geordie warns her that... Yeah? Yeah, I know you went down, baby. I know. But we're on page 4, and it's 5 pages long, and it's not even a full 5, so give it a minute.